George, thanks for being with us today.
Hi, Dave. Thanks for having me.
Genetic Technologies is developing a COVID-19 risk test. Tell us about this test and what are the next steps in the development process?
In terms of product development, it's right up our alley. It's using a genetic and a clinical risk platform to create a single product which predicts your risk of having serious disease once you're exposed to COVID. This creates a whole new set of data, which creates a new discussion, of course, and it could be used around who would be prioritized for vaccination or immunization. And if there are people who may be unsuitable for immunization, are they at risk or can they continue mingling with in an infected environment? You could also use it in terms of creating pharmacogenetic and priorities. So an example would be remdesivir is automatically made available to people over the age of, say, 65 who are exposed to the COVID virus. What if you're 64 and high risk? Should you have an opportunity to experience the benefits of chemoprophylaxis? So these types of fine-tuning and precise personal strategies are created by this test. What we looked at is two cohorts. One cohort were around people who were hospitalized as a consequence of the infection and any serious disease that they experienced, whether it was to do with life-ending experiences or ICU experiences. These were one group, and they were compared with another group who had mild or asymptomatic disease. As a result, we created this predictive algorithm.
Now, the company's already launched risk tests for breast cancer, colorectal cancer. How are you bringing these tests to market?
Yes, so look, the beauty of our space, the genetic space, is that it's moving at an incredible rate, 3 times Moore's law. We're introducing new technologies which are able to offer you information about 10 diseases for the same price as in the old days we used to charge for one disease. These types of efficiencies can be best described as high density SNP arrays, which we've purchased the equipment from Illumina, and as a result, you'll get colorectal, breast, the prostate, melanoma, heart disease, diabetes, COVID, chemoprophylaxis, including antidepressant selection, all on one test. And so you can see that in the short time that we've been working on creating efficiencies, we've reduced the test cost per disease by a factor of 10. And I'm very proud of this, and I think it removes another obstacle to the exposure of the total population to predictive testing.
And how big is the market opportunity?
Every person. So I can't see a medical system without genetics being the cornerstone of implementation. By looking at a person's risk 15 years before they develop this risk, it allows you to create strategies based around lifestyle, diet, and medical and surgical intervention are not the first point of call. And this is what I like about our product. It empowers the individual, and the outcomes are determined by how involved they want to get in the process.
Talk to us about your business model. How does the company make money?
I think the business model is best served by forming relationships with what we are seeing now as mega labs. These are high throughput labs. We're seeing them springing up all over America. This is one of the byproducts of the COVID pandemic, the ability of these labs to process 150,000 plus tests a day. It makes sense for us to be an R&D point of contact. We develop the technology, and then we form a relationship with a lab that can process tens of thousands of tests a day at a fraction of the cost that we can or we used to. And I think as a result, it becomes an irresistible opportunity for the health system and for the individual himself or herself. And so everyone wins in this type of a modern medical scenario.
Now, you just completed a $6.5 million raise. How do you deploy that capital?
I think that we want to continue as we have been. So if you recall that our management group took over GTG 2 years ago, and at that stage it was a one-product company, non-inherited breast cancer. And as you can see, by the middle of this year, we're going to have 10 blockbuster predictive products, including germline or inherited mutations. And these are particularly important because these are already in the guidelines and they attract reimbursement. So if we continue growing at this trajectory, we'll have meaningful solutions for just about every disease. We'll have meaningful solutions for drug selection, lifestyle, and by the way, we are moving into lifestyle testing as well. So as the motto goes, live longer, feel better, and this is what we can achieve, and we can achieve it at the highest possible industry standard. We have number one and number two reagent producers working with us, and as a result, we can create efficiencies and high standards for the medical system at large.
And George, for the uninitiated, can you explain what germline testing is?
Germline testing is looking at genes which contribute to disease risk or disease risk protection. And these have been very well documented and they are in the guidelines. The most famous of these, of course, are the BRCA genes. And you may recall that Angelina Jolie was diagnosed as having a BRCA positive mutation. Her risk, or the risk of individuals with this mutation of developing breast cancer, by the way, men and women, is between 50 and 80%. And as I said, these are in the guidelines, and we'll be offering these products for breast cancer, colorectal cancer, prostate, and heart disease. In addition to these germline tests, we'll be adding our polygenic risk score test, our existing tests. And the interesting story here is where the germline test does not uncover an abnormality or a mutation. Until today, the doctors could not really say whether that individual's risk was still high. By adding a polygenic risk score test, a test which looks at your non-inherited risk, your acquired risk, we are creating what we call 100% genetic risk cover. And this is where the journey is going to be very, very interesting, because we are able to create information which will guide each person on a different journey, but each journey is specific for their risk and their genetic makeup. This is a very personal approach to medicine, and it's very different from the one-size-fits-all, which has been the way we've operated quite successfully till now. But we're ready to go to another level, personalized health.
In summary, what's the essential value proposition? Why should investors take an interest in genetic technologies today?
Well, I'm a clinician, and I always look at things from a medical perspective. So for me, I could not practice medicine without the tools that are available today. From a business perspective, I always say that reward will come when excellence is achieved. And I think that this type of coupling of genetic information with clinical risk 10, 15, 20 years before the disease forms, it just makes sense. It just makes sense that it becomes a lifestyle issue and will be involved in lifestyle issues. We at GeneType are looking to be involved with every part of a person's health choice. And as a result, we think will become a very meaningful, worthwhile investment. How do I quantify the size of this investment? Well, we don't want to be a single test once when you're 30 years old. We want to be a test that continues ad infinitum as discoveries are made. We also want to be part of lifestyle and diet. So these are supplements and gut testing. Value proposition, I think that we want to be there every day in every way, positive way. So you can do the maths yourself.
George, thank you for being with us today.
Thanks for having me.